Coming up on 2-Bid SoCon, we are talking Chattanooga winning the regular season title and Samford and UNCG setting up a second-place matchup on Saturday. All that and more after a word from our sponsors. 2-Bid SoCon is brought to you by The Ben Burnett Show. Sports, politics, anything else you're looking for. Weekends on Extra 106.3 in Atlanta or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Special thank you to Forrest Plunkett Real Estate Developers for sponsoring this episode. If you have any property you want to buy or have any houses to look at, visit forrestplunkett.com and they will get you set up. They're great. They've been doing this for years. And so thank you to them for sponsoring.
Welcome back, everybody, to 2-Bid SoCon. Jay Gold back in the house. New job. How's it going? It's better?
Good.
Life better? Good.
No, I can't do it because this podcast.
On the Eastern time?
Yeah, I'm on that Eastern time now. I'm just yawning every 5 seconds, so we're living.
Yeah. Taylor, maybe a new job? Possibly?
Yeah, interview the Titans today, and Asheville next week. Lots to look forward to for the next couple
Your life's
days.
Awesome.
Right?
So happy for you, man.
Just insane.
Yeah, bro's the new assistant
Really,
GM. They still haven't hired one yet.
Yeah, it's me.
Any intel to the number one pick now that Abdul Carter's not healthy?
We're sticking with Will Levis and we're going to take Travis Hunter.
Don't hire him. Anyway, we now have a SoCon regular season champion and a number one seed in the tournament. Chattanooga taking down UNCG on the road 75-63. Taylor, thoughts on this one?
What a bounce back after their near collapse on Saturday against the Citadel. Because that was a game where I was working, and when they went up 14, I turned it off, and then all of a sudden I was getting these texts like, wow, they almost blew it. And I saw Citadel almost had a game-winning 3. So I think that was a good wake-up call to kind of be like, all right, we're on this win streak, but we're not by any means ahead of the competition. So to come in tonight, really pull away in the second half, Whelan, Huff, and Bonham, kind of the big three, really showed out tonight with each scoring 15 or more points. Champion didn't have a great night scoring the ball, but he was still effective. Costill hit some great threes off offensive rebounds. One off Noah Melson shot out, came in and got a huge offensive rebound.
Yeah.
Kicked it out and got in a 3. I feel like at that moment, that's when they got that momentum. But, yeah, and disappointing. I thought UNCG, I know they're not known for having big crowds, but, man, that gym was dead for a game where they could have kept their number one seed alive.
Nobody even had any clue. Nobody knew that was a game for – that was basically the SoCon regular season championship game.
Oh, yeah.
Both of these teams – who's UNCG have next?
Samford.
Yeah, Samford at home.
Maybe. Okay, maybe not then. But still, it was a potential for that. And not even the announcers knew. Not even
they
the
didn't say
announcers
anything
knew
about
that
it.
it was a game. Neither of those people watched a SoCon basketball game all year. I'll tell you that much. And I normally try to be really nice about that. They're not watching this podcast. I can guarantee you that much because they didn't even know, like, dude, how do you, like, all right, I'll give you a pass. Garrison Kiesler, pretty good player. I'll give you a pass. You're saying Kessler. Bash Whelan, we don't know Bash Whelan. Like, this is going to be a first, second team all SoCon guy.
It was that, and to pronounce it 3 different ways: Whelan, Wylan,
Whelan.
Yeah.
Demetrius Davis just randomly threw down dunks as Frank Champion.
That one had me crying. Frank Champion steals the ball and drives it.
Yeah, and let me make my vow to the 2-Bid SoCon listeners. If Michael Cross, we've talked before, if Michael Cross and I have a conversation of any sorts in Asheville, I'm letting him know that the SoCon broadcasts are awful. And I don't feel bad. Like, outside of there's several ones that can be good in general, but like The fact that if I turn on a SoCon game, there's a 50-50 chance that it's awful. And it's not just like the announcers. Like, that's okay. You can't necessarily control the announcers every game. Like, especially at a mid-major school, like, resources are limited sometimes. But
give me a
I
scoreboard.
don't care what you tell me.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about this. A score bug cannot be that hard. It cannot be as hard as this league makes it out to be. How is there legitimately, like, I don't even think that's hyperbolic to say there's a 50-50 shot every game that there's going to be a score bug problem.
No, there's definitely been something going wrong every time.
It's not that hard. No knowledge. I am completely no knowledge. I know it's not that hard. I watch, everyone from Chattanooga always says, like, they're so spoiled by Go Mox Vision because they are, but also it's like, those people are good at their job, but also it's like, is it that hard to just have the score bug? That just ruins my day every time I turn on a game and I can't.
Because it happens at least once a week.
Get
at
a board
least,
going down the
happens.
court and they can't even turn the camera in time. Like, it's like,
that happened a couple times tonight.
It's like middle school basketball. The manager,
Yeah.
I remember watching middle school freshman basketball where you have some little manager that just like his parents can't pick him up from school, so he's the manager of the team, and he comes to the games and videos, and he just falls asleep up there, and forgot to turn it this possession. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's my biggest beef with this league. So yes, that will be addressed. But yeah, I will be speaking something like, maybe you can't do anything about this, but you can. You can say something to these.
Maybe not that, but the worst one this year was ETSU was playing someone either hit a game winner or held them, but they were on commercial break for the last 15 seconds and no one saw it.
No, they just cut the broadcast. I remember that.
Did they, I knew something like that. I was like,
it was ETSU Mercer, and they were just
that's
like,
right, yeah. It's over.
It was like a one possession game with 5 seconds left, and it was just like, your event has ended. And I was like,
did I fall asleep for a second or something? Like, what happened? Like, that's crazy.
What a representation!
favorite.
Like the game of the night, the game of the year in the SoCon, and we've got people that have not watched a SoCon game all year calling the game with no score bug. Go ahead, Matt.
my favorite was Trey Bonham being from Mobile, Alabama, and
That's not even a SoCon thing. That's just a
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. Yeah.
they lost. Yeah.
I think Kiesler picked up his third foul with like 10 minutes to go, and they were like, "We'll see how they manage Kiesler with these 3 fouls in the last 20 minutes here."
Yeah, speaking of locations, I remember when there at the end they brought the walk-ons in, and they were like, "And Parker Robinson from Chattanooga, or probably Chattanooga, probably what they said, come, along with his other teammates coming into the game." And I was like, 3 of those walk-ons are also from Chattanooga. Like, we're acting like Parker Robinson, like the Chattanooga kid getting to be in the game at the end. Like, yeah, there was just several things. I'm just thinking in my head, like, they said one time they forgot Dan Earl's name. I know it for a fact. They're like, and Coach Jones and the UTC coach getting it.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, come on. Like, it was they just forgot who. Yeah, awful. Anyway,
we'll cut the broadcast destruction off here at 7 minutes. Any thoughts on the game, Jack?
I forgot there was even a game.
I was gonna say I forgot you hadn't talked about the game yet.
Yeah, I was just mad at the game the whole time. Yeah, or at the broadcast I was watching. Anyway, and I'm not stopping the broadcast because this broadcast sucks. Let's put the SoCon broadcast on it. No, that one's normally not that great either. It's at least average sometimes, but it's really not that great either. Anyway, back to the actual game. I thought today was really a showing of Chattanooga's depth. Like, they're the most talented team. I think Coach Earl said it well. I saw on a clip, one of the Chattanooga news stations that I follow. I don't remember who it was, but I saw a clip basically we're not overwhelming people with talent, and that's a good way of putting it, because they are probably the most talented team, but they're also just playing good basketball. It's not just a overwhelming like we're just better than you, and so that's always a thing. But on top of that, I just thought their depth was really great too. Like Latif Diouf, he was great. He gave him great minutes.
Massive.
And I've all year kind of been anti giving him minutes just because I think this team's really good. But shout out to them for continuing to play him. And I've seen the vision of like, oh yeah, he's going to be a good player one year, like eventually. And it kind of showed tonight. Like he really played well. And like y'all said, Noah Melson, kind of a crazy shout out that I think last podcast just mentioned him. He gave him great minutes, I thought, tonight too. Like it didn't show up on the stat sheet, but I think he had a couple good offensive rebounds and played good defense. Like just to be able to bring someone like that off the bench. I think someone who's been forgotten too, Sean Cusano. He didn't do anything today because he's been hurt so much, but like he's got the ability to make an impact. Makai Richards has the ability to make an impact any given night. They just have so many guys. Like Jack Costal, like you said, Taylor, like he hit some big threes. They just have a ton of guys that just, like we've said in the past, just have ability to affect, kind of have a game that's their game where they're the difference. It's not like they're relying on one guy, like one role player to, really play well all the time. It's just a different guy steps up every night. And I thought today was, a really good showing of that.
Yeah, it was even more important today when you talk about the foul trouble that Kiesler and Champion were in, because then you get big minutes from Doof, and Jack Costo gave some big minutes tonight too. But then you also get Mulholland in there, hit a big three.
He's guaranteed to hit a three and get a heat check right after every single game. He's just like,
I think you said that last pod. You're like, he'll make 3 threes and
when they really grabbed the momentum was Mulholland hit a three and then had a block on the other end and had a chance to hit another three, but he missed it.
Yeah.
And then that may have been the Noah Melson offensive rebound. I can't remember. And then
I think it
Costa
was.
hit a three. So they went from up 2 to up 5, or down 1 to up 5, like that. So yeah, just the depth that they have is super, super impressive. They started this one out with Huff on Donovan Atwell, and I was a little confused. And then he ends up chasing Atwell around all day long, and he goes 2 of 9 and 0 of 6 from 3. So, I mean, like, it's also guys that you expect it from stepping up and accepting the challenge to really put them over the edge.
I think that's a good point. I think that's another thing I saw that Earl had said, kind of like these guys decided they wanted to get better defensively. Like this is a completely different. Now they still have their lapses, but like guys like Huff, you can see they have committed to being good defenders. Like Huff is a guy who's gotten picked on in his career, and he's not a great. He will never be a great defender just because of his size. But like tonight, did a great job on his assignment. A lot of those guys, it really is kind of a want to. I think that's a good point because a lot of those guys have really stepped it up for them defensively.
Yeah. Another thing was, especially early, Chattanooga was fine switching on whoever the 4 was for UNCG. Whether it was Demetrius Davis or Miles Jones, they were like, we don't care. We'll put Huff, Bonham, Costal, whoever it is there. Because if that's the guy that's going to beat us, we'll live, And that was...
Yeah.
And as Davis kind of started to get going a little bit, 5 of 9 from the field for 14 points, they adjusted.
He was 5 of 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the broadcast said he was 9 for 9 from the field, by the way, because I was coming
That doesn't surprise me.
Dave Davis was 9 for 9. Yeah, so good
and then when UNCG started to kind of grab the momentum early in the second half, it was all on Polite just getting to the basket at will, and they went zone for a possession to kind of break that rhythm, and then it wasn't an issue for the rest of the way. So, I mean, just all the adjustments that Darren Earl and his staff are able to make along with the depth and the talent that they have with the chemistry of how they're playing right now, is they're going to be hard to beat. My only speculation is, do you love heading into Asheville on an 11-game winning streak?
I kind of think.
I mean,
my take after Saturday was that the Citadel game was kind of best case scenario because
you
they kind of needed to be like humbled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened that, like, I know I saw Huff say it, that Kiesler had said something like, we got lucky that a wake-up call was a win, or something like that. And I think that's completely true. Like, they almost had it was almost perfect that they fell apart like that, but still won. Because I would be very much on that train of, I don't love being on a winning streak if they didn't just have a scare versus the worst team in the league.
Right. I just usually think the basketball gods don't love that. It usually doesn't play in your favor, but
I would agree, especially since the Citadel had a chance to win it at the end and just missed.
they made it.
I think that
It's just too late.
Yeah.
right. Well, the 3 shot. That's but and then because I don't think it'd do you any good to your last game of regular season to lose to VMI. Not that VMI's terrible, but they've kind of lost a few in a row, so I don't think that would do them any good.
Plus, both of those teams are locked into their seed. They're gonna be 1 and 7. So
Yeah, and side note on that I think it's worthwhile saying if you didn't see me tweet it out. Chattanooga needs to win that game at VMI because if they win that game, they're pretty much I bet today will move them up in a lot of the metrics. If you haven't seen, there was the announcement last year that the NIT was doing away with the automatic bids for every conference, and it was basically just a way that was going to screw mid majors. Well, the thing I don't know if anyone saw until here recently with Lipscomb winning is it's like the KNIT, it's the NIT. I don't know. Yeah, so it's like every. What are those even called? Every metric. So like Kim Pom, Bart Torvik, net, wins above bubble, strength of record, everything averaged out. So what you rank in all of those averaged out, and if your average of all those is 125 or better, and you're the conference champion regular season, you get automatic bid. So Chattanooga is the only team, maybe Samford, because like I said, it's 7 different things. You have to look them all up, which Samford can't win, so it doesn't matter. But Chattanooga was the only team that qualified that could win the title. UNCG was in the 130s, and Chattanooga was at like 120. So I bet you they'll probably go up a little bit, but not much. So they probably need to win it at VMI to get a NIT bid automatically, because that's a big deal. Like even it will suck if that ends up being the case where they don't get that bid or where they don't get the bid into the NCAA tournament. But like the SoCon playing in the NIT is still a big deal. Like the NIT is
At least you got something to play for.
exciting tournament.
Yeah.
Like I remember how big of a deal it was when back in the David Jean Baptiste shot days that Furman team got snubbed of the NIT. Like that was crazy that they didn't get an NIT, because that's I remember how cool. I think that same year Western Carolina played in the CBI, and that was like a big deal for them.
Yeah.
Even though the CBI is like, please come play in this tournament, that's still like getting to play postseason basketball is a big deal, especially when it's like on a big stage, and a team like Chattanooga that's automatic bid would get to host a game too. So that's a pretty significant thing. I would assume a loss to VMI would hurt their metrics bad, so they probably need to win that one too.
Yeah, not as bad as a loss to VMI last year would hurt the metrics, but still,
I doubt they're very high on many metrics.
No, moving on to the other game of the night, Samford at VMI. Samford 95-83. Taylor, your thoughts on this one?
Kind of had a 3-headed monster going tonight with Holloway, Allensbach, and Trey Ford at 17. But good for Holloway to finally have a good game.
I was going to say, which Holloway?
Sorry, Colin Holloway. Good for him to drop 24 after sort of, I think we talked about it last pod, maybe before. We kind of expected more after the start of the season, but he showed up tonight with 24 big points, and then is it Allensbach or Allensbach? I should know this by now, but
Allensbach.
I think on podcasts I hear both. Oh, I was wrong both. But for him to average, it's okay. But for him to have 22 and 8 off the bench, and then Ford having 17, it's pretty much just, from what I watched, it was them 3 just taking over, and it's about what I expected, a 12-point win at VMI. But I'm going to say something controversial about Samford. I know they won tonight. They dropped 95 like everybody expected them to at the beginning of the year. I think they peaked as a team, and I sooner trust ETSU in the tournament than they. I don't know if that's controversial, but
I don't think I am with you on ETSU. I think ETSU is probably I almost look at ETSU and Chattanooga in the tournament as 1A, 1B.
It's mainly because I feel like these tournaments are built for teams that have superstars, and Samford has good players, but no one that's gonna put the team on your back. I feel and win a game like Peterson and Seymour did last year that they could still do this year.
Yeah, I don't feel awesome about Samford just because they've struggled here to finish the year. But I will say, speaking on this game, like the fact that Colin Holloway played well tonight and not just like a good game, like he played really good. That's a great sign for them because
Yeah.
ultimately, like I don't think they have any chance of winning a SoCon title if he isn't a good player, which he has.
I'll have to do that again before I start being like, all right, they have a chance.
Yeah.
Jack, I wanted to ask you, does this give you confidence that they've solved this Colin Holloway problem? Or are you
No.
still super skeptical?
No, I mean it's one game, but still, you can build on one game.
It is
If he
promising.
just all of a
It is
sudden
promising.
becomes, like, it's got to start somewhere. So if he all of a sudden has figured it out, like that is a big deal. And they still may not win the SoCon title, but they definitely, in my opinion, won't win the SoCon title if Colin Holloway's giving them nothing, which is essentially what he's done in the last 10, 15 games.
Yeah.
That was the first time he was scoring above double digits in forever, it seemed like, too.
Yeah,
It seemed like
it's
he's
been a
consistently
long
getting like
time.
6, 8 points. Like, yeah.
It's been a long time. One thing I noted in this game, Samford fouls too much, man. And half of them are like 80 feet from the basket. And like, I get that they want to press and be physical and speed the game up, but half the time they're just like running at the guy and hacking him. Like, there's no like science to it. They're just trying to be aggressive, and it leads to the other team being in the bonus for 12 minutes. I don't know that they're doing it as well as they did last year. And they've started to get away from some of the rotational tactics, like I mentioned before, but I just don't know that this team is as deep as last year, and that doesn't lend itself to playing that buckyball style as well as they did last year. So, yeah, just fouling too much. I think any of these teams that have a Keutelis type, like a stretch big kind of 3-4-5 kind of guy, like Keutelis, Frank Champion, Jaden Seymour, I think those teams are going to give Samford big problems because when you can pull an Allensbach or an Ole Inca away from the rim and get them one-on-one, those guys don't move their feet well. And it led to a bunch of Keutelis, like easy baskets and assists early on. So if teams can start to do that, I don't have a great feeling about Samford heading into this tournament.
I just had a take on Ole Inca. Like he's kind of like a Chora if a Chora wasn't good. Like not to, and that sounds mean because I think Ole Inca is a decent player, but like
he's so
a
raw.
Chora is like a
He's
player
so
of the
raw.
year level player.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about
That
That
this.
makes me
sense.
laugh. That's true.
When I did Blue Ribbon, when I did Samford for Blue Ribbon this summer, Bucky McMillan said the same thing. He said, Ole Inca reminds me of a Chore. And there was a year before a Chore was a player of the year kind of guy,
Right.
where he was just
Exactly.
like uncoordinated and like you could tell he was athletic and there was something there, but he wasn't like pump faking top of the key, driving to the rim and dunking on people. Like he was just kind of out there as a
He
big
gave
body.
good minutes against Chattanooga in the game they got eliminated. I remember it. I was
Exactly.
shocked that he became as good as he did the next year, but I remember he had a pretty solid outing. That's
But
putting it
even-
the nice way.
Even
And I
watching
gave the
him,
funny way.
even watching him last year when he was a player of the year candidate, none of it looked like it just came to him naturally. Like you could tell that he worked his ass off all summer, like improving every aspect of his game, and you could tell that it was learned and not natural. So maybe there's a jump like that for Ole Inca. Early in the year he was great defensively, but now all you got to do is keep him away from the basket, and he's not going to make any kind of impact. Offensively, there's nothing there right now that I'm comfortable, running anything through.
To your point about the kind of how they're fouling too much, I feel like I've seen that all year. There's like immaturity in the system, if that makes sense, or just lack of experience. But I think immaturity is a good word for the buckyball system. Like you've got to either be Rylan Jones, who just is a cerebral player that comes in ahead of time, like he's always been that, or last year they had Jaden Campbell and Dang, who's the kid at Miami now? How am I
AJ
forgetting?
State McCray.
Yeah, AJ State McCray. I bought his shirt.
Ronnie went to Miami.
I blanked in the middle of saying it. Whatever. They had guys that had been in the system. This year, it almost looks like a lot of times that it's like someone watched Samford last year and said, I really like that. I'm going to put my 16U AAU team. That's what we're going to run. Like when I played AAU when I was in high school, we would be like, yeah, let's run the Princeton offense, or let's run like a 5-out offense, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like we practiced like 4 times a week, and we were just running the sole principles. Like we read Buckyball for Dummies, the book, and we kind of know the base principles, and we're really buying into that and playing that way. But you got to be familiar with the system. It almost looks like they're like, oh, Buckyball, shoot a lot, play super aggressive, boom, let's do it. And it's not what it was last year, where it was executing that system exactly how it needed, and knowing, okay, it's not shooting 30-foot threes every single possession or triple teaming and playing super physical every single time somebody puts the ball on the ground. Like it's choosing when to do it and doing that stuff a lot, but it's kind of, I don't know. That's what I felt like all year. It almost looks like an AAU team that is trying to play buckyball.
What's funny is early on, it was working. Like they started off 5-0, and I remember we were all here talking like, or maybe we were just talking, but we were like, I don't know what I'm going to pick against Samford because they just look so good like they did last year. And we were interviewing Rylan Jones, and like, remember we were like, how is this team different but the same as last year? But ever since they beat Mercer by 1 in that controversial game, they just kind of slowly mellowed out. So
Did we curse Samford?
I think we did.
maybe we did.
Did
Maybe we
Rylan
did.
Jones coming on the show turn
Did he curse
their season
Samford?
the opposite
He didn't have
way?
to come on the show.
I think it was titling that episode, "Can Anyone Beat Samford?" And
People were asking.
Yeah.
and the answer was a resounding yes.
People are asking if Samford has the 2-bid SoCon curse. It's a real thing.
They might.
Samford has to win at Asheville for us to get rid of this.
Yep.
So, the Samford win and the UNCG loss sets up basically a battle for second place on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Samford at UNCG. So, are you?
And they're going to have to
against
play each
Samford
other. There's a good chance they'll have to play each other
in the semis?
quarterfinals too in Nashville. They're going to get no break from each other. They'll finish 2 and 3, won't they?
Yeah. They'll play in the semis if
The
they
semifinals.
both win. Yeah.
Did I say quarters?
Yeah,
Same thing. One game.
that's why I was so confused.
But it will be one game
Yeah,
for
they'll
each
get a
team
one
if
game
they play
break.
each other again.
Yeah,
Depending on who they play. They could both lose to Wofford or whoever it is they play.
yeah. So that would be a fun one. Moving on to the only other good game of the week. I don't know that I would call it a good game.
It was a
close
game, at least.
A
Close.
close game, yeah. Mercer, 1-point loss at ETSU. Taylor, thoughts?
It was a classic ETSU game that I've said probably 10 times this year, where they won by shooting less than 40% from 3 in the field. Seymour taking a bunch of shots but doing just enough.
Peterson.
Peter just jacked up. Peterson and, sorry, my computer cut for a second. Peterson and Seymour both shooting the majority of the shots, but again, playing great defense. And I'm a little disappointed. Not that Mercer had high expectations for this season, but after a few big wins early on, and with Johnson and Robinson playing so well, I thought they'd finish like in 5th or 6th. But no, I mean, they still won a few good games, but it's disappointing they've started to kind of fall off a little bit. This game wasn't super surprising. 58-59 for ETSU is nothing crazy, but yeah, I thought Mercer would pick up a few along the way, a few more after their promising start. Again, like they weren't supposed to do good anyway, but like with those two guys, I thought they'd win a few more.
But
No.
I don't think Mercer's just an easy out.
No, they're not. But like,
Or Saturday.
no. I don't mean that. I just mean like
No,
they're
no,
13
I-
conference. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I could see them upsetting somebody easy.
yeah.
I was going to say, there was
Absolutely.
a team in a similar situation last year. Granted, they were the 7th seed, but
Still,
one 3-day stretch later, and they're like the whole program is revitalized. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
That
They
is true.
did something super interesting to me in just face guarding Kimart Peterson, and dare somebody else to beat you. And when you combine that, and it worked for the better part of the game.
Yeah.
But when you allow him, when Savage starts running him off of screens and then using him as a screener, so all the attention is on him, he starts to get going one way or another. And that was ultimately what got it done for ETSU, was he came off a screen and hit a big three at the top of the key. But when you combine the face guarding with Jaden Seymour just not looking like himself, like he did pre-injury, 4 of 13 in this one, 0 of 3 from outside for 9 points. It's just going to be tough for ETSU to win games like that. I mean, you can win rock fights, but this wasn't, the greatest game for ETSU.
I'm not worried about Seymour.
No, yeah.
He's just been doing it. He's been doing it too long. But for me to, even if he hadn't looked the same since injury, like I think when it matters, he's going to be there. I'm more worried about Peterson in the fact that how Mercer played him and how Mercer dared ETSU to be in with someone else. They got to have Bugs. I think Bugs has got to play, and obviously he's multiple concussions. Who knows? That's always a very difficult thing to navigate. So who knows if he does? But I think for their success, they've got to have him, because they've got to have, Heavy Asamoah from last year. They've got to have that kind of guy out there that can, or like a Jamal Johnson was for UTC 2 years ago when they made that run. Got to have a guy that just can knock down threes no matter what the coverage. And like Mekhi Johnson's a good player. Boyd is still Boyd. I almost feel like Boyd's having a worse year this year than he did last year. Maybe that's a bad take, but I thought he was like one of the best, if not the best role player in the league last year. And this year he's still a good role player. I just don't think he's been quite as impactful.
He's not having a bad year, but I picked him on my fantasy team thinking to make a jump, and he hasn't. So now
he just can't. You're limited when you can't shoot. That's always the thing in any basketball. And when he shoots a jumper, it doesn't look like it's going in, even if he makes some. It's just I don't know. I just think they really need Bugs. I think Bugs is
Bugs makes a huge difference.
He is the guy that can get them to a title game, and not because of what he's going to do as much as it is how much he'll free up the other two.
Exactly. Does Boyd have a case for Defensive Player of the Year? Because the SoCon broadcast certainly thought so.
He's a good, I mean, he probably does, but I'm Bowser all the way. I think Bowser is.
I would say Bowser. I was going to say Bowser.
I hope that the coaches see it that way. I feel like the coaches sometimes, I don't know. I get
don't
it.
like picking bigs.
I think because college does that for some reason. College, they love being different and doing that. Because in the NBA, it's always a big. And I don't remember, maybe it was Jalen Williams or somebody who said in the NBA the other day, they need a guard defensive player of the year and a big defensive player of the year. Like, they need 2 awards.
Well, your Marcus Smart just won it, so.
Yeah. But you need 2 awards because
3 years ago.
You can't really win you can't win a defensive player of the year as a guard, because guards are not as impactful as bigs. Like, you can build a defense around bigs.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about college. Like, Furman's defense is around Cooper Bowser. Like, it is evident when you're watching. Like, when we were at the Chattanooga Furman game, like, Champion could not do anything with Cooper Bowser. And not to Champion's fault. It's just the dude has a 20-foot wingspan and is athletic. Like, you just, I can't pick. I can't go against him. And even if Boyd, I've been impressed with how he's played. Like, I just can't go against Bowser, really.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Elsewhere, the SoCon, being the closest league in the country, was put to shame. Wofford 90-67 over Western Carolina, and Furman 85-42 over the Citadel. Is it time to have a conversation?
Dude, I looked at the score on Saturday and saw it was 58-22 in the second half, and I about collapsed to my knees just because it felt so bad for the Citadel. I mean, who would have thought with a player like Brody Fox alone that they would have only one more – I know there's still a couple games, who knows, but they would have one more win than VMI's team last year. I really thought they'd pick up at least a couple wins of SoCon play. They still could Saturday, but man.
VMI won a conference game last year.
You're right. Yeah, I forgot. They beat the Citadel, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's
I
crazy.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like I feel like I came into the year thinking Ed Conroy was a really good coach. I still think I believe that, or he's a good coach. I think I believe that because I think last year, like it was so clear they had identity. They have completely lost that identity. And granted, yes, they lost everybody. So did VMI. And they're both hard schools to recruit to.
Citadel's
I still have VMI another tier below the Citadel. The Citadel is in Charleston. That is like one of the best cities ever. Like you can get players there, even if they lost some of their players to the school down the road. Like I
What's
just
wrong with
think
Lexington, Virginia?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, whatever. But I think there was no sense of direction.
I couldn't tell you. I didn't know Lexington, Virginia was a thing until like.
Build. Go ahead.
Right.
Oh, I was just saying I didn't know Lexington, Virginia was a thing until I started paying attention to the SoCon.
Yeah, no, valid. Yeah, but there was no direction with this roster build. Like, you look at other schools around the league, Furman, Chattanooga, like Nick Anderson, Jack Costal, Garrison Kiesler. Like, these are D2 guys that are, like, skilled and can clearly play a role. Like, Brody Fox he was a D3 guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's their star player. Like, they brought in a guy that can't really shoot that's a wing. And he's good. But that's like, what's your main guy coming into the year? What other transfers do they bring in? I know you can get guys. Like, Paxton Davidson is a good player. Like, he's a fine player. Paxton Davidson was also a walk-on at the last school he was at. Like, he's a fine player, but they're relying on guys that shouldn't be your guys. Like, they're relying on role players to be their best guys, and it's hard at the Citadel. I understand, but I just can't believe they couldn't put together a better roster, and they didn't get any progression from any of the guys that they kept. Mm-hmm. Like, I looked last year, I remember saying it multiple times on the podcast, I was like, Keenan Davis, like, there's something there with him. Where's he?
He's been DMP.
Like, there's several guys that just
I forgot he existed.
Aren't great anymore. Like, they're just very, I don't know. I'm not questioning, like, I don't feel like I did about Greg Gary last year. Like, Greg Gary, there was nothing there. And I'm glad I can say it now that he's not in the league. Like, he should have been fired the year before. There was nothing inspiring with that team. Ed Conroy last year, there was some real grit to that Citadel team. Like, they were not quite to the level that VMI's been this year, but they were competitive, and they had a clear
They picked up a few big wins.
Yeah, like they
could
looked like they belonged every time out there. This year they don't. This year, the Chattanooga thing is an anomaly. Like in the Furman game earlier in the year was an anomaly. Mm-hmm. I can't even say that. I just think they just look. They're just hard to watch. Like I can count on
really
one hand the amount of times I've even tuned into a game because they're that hard to watch.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Me too.
I think when it comes to the X's and O's and the on-court stuff, Conroy can be a good coach. But when it comes to roster building, something has to change. And you have to give your coach the right pieces. I know he's involved in recruiting, but you have to surround him with people that are talented at recruiting so that on the court he can have the right pieces to do something, win a conference game.
And get some shooters.
Yeah.
Yes,
never
please.
Get real shooters. Like McAllister can shoot a little bit, Davidson can shoot a little bit, but like they love getting.
They're trying to make Christian Moore a shooter.
They love getting guys to be their best players that can't really shoot.
Yeah.
I'd say focus on getting free throw shooters first. At least get that down.
They've improved. They've gotten better.
They've worked on it.
They did work on it.
We got stuff on the other teams.
You got anything on Wofford or Western Carolina?
Nothing on Western. I feel the same way as I did last time. Like,
yeah.
Bro, well, like not like that. They aren't great, but I just feel the same way I did the other day. Like, I think Tim Kraft, this finish has been has inspired confidence in him a little bit. Like, there's at least something to build on next year. And
Kel and Pelot have been good. I'll say that.
Yeah, they're a great duo.
Mm-hmm.
But
they've really shown out the last little bit.
Is Furman ramping up to something?
If House is good,
No.
I don't know if I can just feel confident that House is like
Right.
all of a sudden the third guy that can get you 20 points or 15 points every night, especially when he's going flawless from the field. But
Yeah.
if he can really provide something, which is kind of what you hoped he would earlier in the year, and maybe just a switch flipped and he figured it out. But I think I've gotten misunderstood by some Furman fans. Like, I'm not saying PJ Smith and Nick Anderson are bad players. I just think
You need
they're
more than
not
two
good
guys.
enough to carry the team, which there's very few players ever that are good enough to. That was my point. I just said it the other way around. Yeah, the supporting cast just isn't good enough most nights. And they're just Smith and Anderson cannot just mask the fact that you have a bunch of nubs on offense half the time. If you know what a nub is, like that's what you used to call them when I played. Like if so somebody that's just not good on offense, you call them a nub. You don't even. They have nubs out there all the time.
They calls you a nub?
No, they called me. They said that's a freaking Ray Allen out there. Don't make me pull up the clips.
Please don't.
Don't make me pull them up.
I would say, if they get a convincing.
Stop.
How did you already have that ready? That's crazy.
Butter.
No one can see
It's
that.
blurry. I can't see. It's blurry.
That's
Also,
Isaiah West
all of
going down that
our
road.
Spotify listeners aren't gonna know what that was.
Yeah, there's gonna be.
That was Jack showing himself shooting a spot up.
But you couldn't see it. It was blurry.
Look at the give and go.
I don't know where you
Isaiah
are.
West, that's a baby. Lay.
Spoon fed all of it.
Get career high at night. Gets multiple D1 players. They definitely weren't freshmen and sophomore, and I was a senior. They definitely weren't.
Oh man. Anyway, we will get to our game picks for Saturday now. Season finale in the SoCon, and we're all tied up. So these are big, and we can't all agree on
Oh,
everything.
we're doing them right now?
Yep.
Yeah, we're not agreeing. One of us has to win.
Chattanooga over VMI is my
Chat.
first pick.
Yeah.
ETSU at the Citadel.
ETSU.
You just heard me talk about the Citadel now. I can't take it. I got used to this shit.
Alright. Furman at Wofford for 5th place, actually. I think. That's a good one.
That is. Let's
I'm
come
going
back to that one.
Oh.
Can we come
You
back
guys
to
can
that
come
one?
back to it. Yeah?
I was gonna say Wofford.
It's sheep.
Jack comes back to that one.
Yeah, I'll come back to
If
it.
you come back and say Wofford, you're a sheep.
All right,
Yeah.
bro.
Called me a sheep all year, and you've been being like same with Taylor.
Taylor, but you don't know.
I know I
grammar,
messed up
so
your. I messed up your. The fact that you guys both said at the same time was pretty crazy.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Samford at UNCG for 2nd place.
Give me Samford.
Give me UNCG.
Give me Samford. Wow, Taylor. That might...
All right. I'll either be in last or I'll win.
Western Carolina at Mercer.
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 I'll take
Do it.
Western Carolina.
On Taylor's World Brightburner is going to give you a kiss.
I'll take Western Carolina.
All right.
Jack, last pick of the year. Furman at Wofford. Taylor and I have Wofford. If you say Wofford, I'm going down on the Western Carolina Catamounts. Oh, no.
I really liked what I saw from Furman. But I don't know. This is about as difficult a decision as I've had to make.
Oh, yeah, take your time. You've got nowhere to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, it's later for you than it is for us. So
I'm going with Wofford. I can't.
Wow.
They beat them too bad last time.
sheep.
I've liked what I've seen from Furman, though. That's about as hard as it is. Yeah, y'all are sheep for calling me a sheep. Who was the first
So-
sheep? Yeah.
Recap
One and two.
of the final 2-bid SoCon picks of the year. We've all got Chat. We've all got ETSU. We've all got Wofford. Jack and I have Samford over UNCG. Taylor has the Spartans. And Taylor and Jack both have Mercer, while I have Western Carolina. So that will determine how this all unfolds. If the rookie Taylor can grab a win in year one.
That's actually kind of wild that we are knotted up going to the last one, especially with
That
how
is pretty
crazy
crazy.
this year has been. It's
Yeah.
not like it's been.
It wasn't even close to that last year, Jack.
Who won
Yeah,
last
so you
year?
got the water.
I think I had like a 5-game lead.
Oh, good luck.
Ah,
Yeah. I swear, go back. Go back.
well, especially because I know we've agreed a lot. But we've made some different picks, so the fact that it is tied is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see what happens
What's the
on
best?
Saturday.
Wait, what's the best bet looking like? I know they're not out yet, but what is the standings in that looking like?
I don't know, man. You
I
have
think-
Twitter. Go look at it. I think
I think it's
it's
y'all
Taylor, me,
are-
Jack.
Taylor. Yeah, Matt is only. It would be Taylor's up one game,
I
but
pushed.
you're up a half game on Matt because he gave himself a push because he picked his own
Oh,
line.
right,
It was a
right.
cheater line.
God, what a great person I
And
am.
then yeah,
What a
so
What
basically
a-
me and Matt are tied. But Matt
Yeah.
just. I've never seen a line that's a just
What a
straight
great
up
person
number.
I am.
I've never
Good.
seen like a Sanford -7, and just somehow one day he just takes a -7 and it
I
hits.
should have taken the win.
It's
Man.
always halves. It's always halves.
Always
But Matt
halves.
I didn't
all of a
set
sudden
the
had
line.
He had a straight up number somehow. He
I
made up
didn't
his
set
own
the line.
line until he gets a push one day.
Are we gonna talk about you just saying 5.5 sometimes when the line's really 8.5, and I give it to
No,
you?
I pull it up straight on my app. That's
And then I pull it up after you text it. It's a different line.
I'm gonna start sending the book I look at.
So you guys are both cheaters. I'm the only noble one here.
I'm gonna take that.
Alright,
I'm gonna make an
Noble's
account for every
crazy.
single betting service,
noble.
and I'm gonna start shopping the lines. For this
Oh,
podcast
okay.
next year, I'm shopping lines. I'm gonna say, yeah, give me UTC -2.5 on Bet365 today. And we're gonna put the book in there too. Yeah,
Jack, if you parlay all the games on Saturday and win, you get the best bet win for the year.
dog, I can't. I've done that before and I lose by like one every time that I have good picks.
So I know I gave up on that early on for me too.
Yeah. Jackie Locks.
Yeah,
That was across the board.
haven't touched a betting app since Super Bowl.
Wow, I'm proud of you.
Actually, before that, I didn't even bet on the Super Bowl because
That's
I just
impressive.
lose.
Yeah,
Just
I
lose
lost,
every time.
I lost everything. I lost all my SoCon winnings on the Super Bowl, and I haven't bet since.
Yeah.
Which was heartbreaking. But that's all we have for you this week. We will be back early next week for our tournament preview and our awards picks for the year. So Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and we'll see you guys next time.